You've probably heard it your whole life. Buying a starter home is the first rung on the ladder to building real wealth. But what if that ladder is broken? When we actually look at the cold, hard math for today's market, that old advice isn't just outdated. It can be a serious financial trap.
I mean, we've all heard this, right? Renting is just throwing money away. It's practically a financial commandment, passed down from generation to generation. And the logic, it seems pretty simple. Rent is just an expense, but a mortgage builds your future. It feels right, it sounds smart, but is it actually true anymore?
So what happens when we just ignore the old sayings for a minute and just follow the math? Well, the numbers tell a story that your real estate agent might not want you to hear, and honestly, it could completely change how you think about building wealth.
All right, so to really see the problem clearly, we need to understand why that whole starter home strategy worked so well for our parents, and why that exact same path could be a dead end for so many of us today.
And here is the absolute core of the problem. Back in the 90s, a common rule of thumb was that a house should cost about 3 times your yearly salary. Pretty straightforward. But today, that ratio has literally doubled. A typical home now costs 6 times the median income, which completely rewrites the entire affordability playbook.
Let's put some real numbers to this to make it sink in. The median household in the US earns about $84,000 a year, okay? Just keep that number in your head. Now here's the other side of that coin. The median price for a so-called starter home today, it's hovering around $400,000. You don't need a calculator to see the massive disconnect here. The gap between what people earn and what a home costs isn't just a gap anymore, it's a canyon. But you know, it's not just about the high sticker price. The real trap is actually hidden inside the total cost of owning a home, all the things that most first-time buyers just never see coming. So, let's break it down. This right here, this is what's known as the amortization trap. We're taught to think of a mortgage payment as this great forced savings account, right? But for the first 5, sometimes even 10 years, the vast majority of your payment, we're talking around 85% of it, is pure interest going straight to the bank. You're not really buying the house yet. You're just renting the money to buy the house. And that brings us to the single most overlooked part of this whole debate, unrecoverable costs. See, we're so focused on not throwing away money on rent that we completely ignore the thousands of dollars we are guaranteed to throw away every single year as homeowners, money that just vanishes forever. A good way to remember these costs is the acronym I.T.I.M. First, there's interest, which we just saw is a huge cost early on. Then you've got taxes, the property taxes you have to pay every single year. Then insurance, which just keeps getting more and more expensive. And finally, M for maintenance. A good rule of thumb is to budget 1% of your home's value every year just for repairs. So on that $400,000 home, that's another $4,000 a year. Gone. This is the single most important mental shift you have to make. Your mortgage payment is not your monthly housing cost. It is the absolute minimum you will pay each month, and that's only if absolutely nothing breaks. I mean, just think about the risk here. When you rent, your monthly payment is the maximum you'll pay. The water heater explodes, you make one phone call to your landlord. It's their problem. But when you own, your mortgage is the minimum you'll pay. The water heater explodes now? Well, that's your $1,000 problem. The financial exposure is on a completely different level.
But there's one more hidden cost, and it might just be the biggest one of all. It's completely invisible, but it has the power to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm talking about the opportunity cost of your down payment. For that $400,000 starter home, you'll probably need a 20% down payment to get a decent loan. That's $80,000 in cash. Just take a second to think about how long it takes to save that much money only to hand it over in one go. This choice presents you with 2 very different financial paths. On one side, you can be house poor, with all that cash locked up, illiquid, inside the walls of your home. Or you could be portfolio rich. That same $80,000 invested in a simple S&P 500 index fund could grow to over $800,000 in 30 years, all thanks to compound growth. This isn't a small choice. It's a potential million-dollar decision. And this gets to a fundamental truth of personal finance. Real security isn't about having equity that's trapped in a house. It's about having liquid assets, money you can actually get to and use when you need it most. Because at the end of the day, you can't pay the bills with a kitchen countertop. So, if the old path is broken, what's the smart alternative? The goal here isn't to never buy a home. The goal is to do it strategically, by following a new set of rules designed to build real, flexible wealth in today's world.
Okay, here's the new rule number 1, the 7 to 10-year rule. When you buy and sell a house, you lose a huge chunk of money to transaction costs, things like agent commissions and closing fees. Because of this, you will almost certainly lose money if you sell within the first few years. The math only even begins to work in your favor if you are absolutely certain you'll stay in that home for at least 7 years, and 10 is even better.
Now, if you can't commit to that 7-year rule, the smartest financial move is what I call the aggressive renter strategy. First, you find a place to rent that's cheaper than the total cost of owning. Second, you calculate that difference, all your savings on interest, taxes, maintenance, and then you automatically invest that savings every single month. You get to build real, liquid wealth while your landlord is the one who has to worry about the broken roof.
This is the ultimate takeaway. Buying a house can be a wonderful lifestyle choice. Having a yard, painting the walls, setting down roots, those things have immense personal value. But we have to stop confusing a lifestyle choice with a sound financial strategy. They are simply not the same thing.
So, the final question I want to leave you with is this. When you think about buying a home, are you making a lifestyle choice or are you making a financial one? Be honest with yourself, because knowing the difference, well, that's the first step to real financial freedom.